time to focus on building an email list? Do you wish there was a magic formula for increasing email signups from Pinterest? Are you looking for ways to optimize your site for signups, especially for your Pinterest visitors? Well, if so, then today's show is for you. We're going to be talking all about new ways to build your email list with Pinterest. And I am joined, of course, I'm Jeff C., by the way, of Manly Pinterest Tips, and I'm here with my awesome co-host, Elisa Meredith. Elisa, how are you doing?
Jeff, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to be here. Can you tell?
Yeah,
I love our guests. I'm so excited. So
I know, and I'm excited you didn't get blown away by the tornadoes the other day. So
that's right. That's always a good thing. Yes, it is. So
yes,
we are so happy to have you guys all on. As we're going along today, make sure you drop down below your questions or comments, and we'll pull in as many as we can today. So, Elisa, I'll let you introduce our guest as I check all the buttons.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been watching the show for a while, you know our guest, Kate All of Simple Pin Media. And I said, hey, Kate, hey, will you come on? And, hey, what do you want to talk about?
I know.
And when you were just saying that you have like so many ideas going on in your head, so we had to narrow it down to this one, and I'm glad we did.
Yes.
So
oh my gosh.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Oh, trying to navigate quarantine life, mom, living all that stuff. And then with Pinterest and everything with that, and, the traffic being so crazy for a lot of people. And I just feel like if we hit like we poured gasoline on a fire and lit, it just went crazy.
So I wanted to ask you this question before we get started. Is it everyone was like, okay, what's the best time to post? What's the best time to go live? And I'm like, nobody knows anything right now because it's all changed. All the stuff that we've been doing before, I mean, it's like the Wild West because I had a lot of questions like, hey, when's the best time to go live for video and all this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know.
I'll tell you when it is. It's right now because there were two other things I wanted to go to as well, and they were both at exactly this time. So I think we've got the right one.
I'm glad you showed up. I mean, because you have done that before. So
what?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Kate, what have you? I mean, is everything just kind of like crazy? I mean, it's hard to get like a baseline for like what's working. I guess what I'm trying to say.
I think you make a great point. And I was actually talking with my peer mastermind a little bit about this as it relates to like your productivity has changed and what you're doing at a certain time has changed. And whereas before, you maybe saw that everybody, if they had like kids at home, they were in school from like 9 to 3 or at different times, or they were doing activities in the evening. And now it's like, okay, well, my people are home. And so my productivity is going between like stuff like this and then getting them started with school and all of that. So maybe now I'm most productive in the evening, which I've never done before. And now, that's also, you almost have to like grab motivation by the horns and just go with it whenever it happens because you don't know. So I think to your point, you're right. Like there is no formula. I know when I see Instagram Live is like all day long these days because people are just choosing a time. So I would say you're right. There isn't a formula right now, and you just have to go with what you're seeing your people respond to and go with that wave instead of, I think we've been conditioned to look outward to say like, what's everybody else doing? Somebody give me a formula, and there isn't one. And so that leaves us floundering, whereas the only place you can look is your people. Like, what are your people responding to?
Yeah, great points. Hey, I want to pull up some comments here. I want to say hi to Allie. She is saying, thanks for this. Well, we appreciate you coming, Allie. And Chuck is here as well. Chuck, I haven't seen you for a while. Thank you so much for showing up. And Elisa, I want you to pronounce the name because you've always made fun of me. So so you made fun of me in the comments, so I want you to tell me how to say it.
Yes. She goes by Rona, I believe.
Okay, Rona. Okay.
Rona.
So you're taking the easy way out, but I'll let it go. So she says, yes, Pinterest is running a webinar right now. I had to choose, and I chose right. Very good. You chose wisely.
You chose wisely, right.
So anyway, we're excited for this show. We do have a question to kick us off. So I want to go ahead.
All right.
Before we do that, though, I know people are chomping at the bit for this. Are brand new templates that you guys can go download at bit.ly/template-designs. That's bit.ly/template-designs. We try to make it as hard as possible with these links sometimes. I mean,
What?
so
I was just thinking,
gotta
how did
throw
I
a
get
dash
that
in there.
Bitly?
I
That's
mean,
a
come
cool.
on.
That's a cool Bitly.
Okay. But
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about this
Okay.
this collection of templates. So usually we're real heavy on the design elements, and while obviously we work those in as well, there was a lot of concentration on the trends. So Pinterest was just throwing all these insights at us that this trend is up 125x in the last 2 weeks, and this one was up 40 times. It was overwhelming. So we actually put them all in a spreadsheet, figured out which were the best ones to go after. Well, some of the best ones anyway, and work those into the templates instead. So like, here's a spin you can put on your content to use this search trend. Here's one for this one. So hopefully that will be helpful to you now and into the near future.
And forever. So what kind of templates are they?
They are Pinterest pin templates.
Okay.
And on them, of course, they have this design tip thing that is like why we chose this design, why we chose this topic. So we typically cover areas like fashion and for teachers, for bloggers, for a couple other ones. I don't know. I only made them.
Are they Canva templates or are they Photoshop?
Yeah, they're Canva, but also Dustin, our friend, we all know Dustin Stout over at Still Visual. Yep. Yeah, so I sent them over to him in Canva, and he made Photoshop versions for us, and those are on there too. Sweet. Yeah, so this month and last month we had both. So let me know what you think. And hopefully you can use some of the trends. We also published a blog post last week with all the trends that we collected from Pinterest. So
Jenny says she says I've loved the templates. Thank you. Well, you're so welcome, Jenny.
Thank you.
I'll take credit for those. So
go right ahead.
Yeah. So why don't you kick us off with the first question for Kate? There's some I'm going to go pull up while you're talking.
Yeah. So I want to know, because when I asked you, you're like, oh, so many things, but this one about growing your email list with Pinterest, that one rose to the top. So that's what we're talking about. I want to know why. Like, why now? Why that topic now?
Okay, so I just have to say it's hilarious that a squirrel ran through the background and your cat went straight for it. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna say that I'm a little bit distracted by that. But I mean, that is just how the day goes. No, I love it. It's so great. Okay, so why I love this topic. That's essentially where we're going.
Yes. Yeah, and why now?
Oh wait, squirrel. Yeah. Right. Yeah, why now?
Literally a squirrel, yeah.
Yes. Well, here's why I think why now is because Pinterest use is at an all-time high and people are using it so much to find last minute ideas for the future. Like there's just so many things they're going to Pinterest for right now that you're getting a ton of new eyeballs on your site. And so I think it's time to look at what we've done in the past with email marketing and getting people on our list and really refresh it and revive it in a new way, knowing that all these people that are using Pinterest even more and more and coming to sites, they're seeing pop-ups, they're seeing this join my email list, but really there's nothing compelling them. Like how does yours stand out amongst a sea of pop-ups, right? And so I think that's what I'm thinking about now is what is the greatest need of this person coming to your site and how do you see it as, and I think this was a challenge for myself. How do I talk to that cold person, the person who doesn't know me at all? And how do I really hook them and engage with them with this short snippet of time that I have? And that's why I started thinking about it more and more. And it's become really important to me as somebody who's getting more traffic from Pinterest too, that it's actually become I've become obsessed with these days is how do we grow the email list? And so that's why I wanted to talk about it because I was like, well, it's on my brain all the time. Why not?
So,
I'm glad.
So can we, and Lisa, can you check on that link? Because we're saying that it's going to a survey. So can you double check and have maybe somebody at Tailwind double check that link for us? Yeah, I will. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you, Kate, is you mentioned a hook right there. So how do you, if you're getting all this new traffic and you're, you want to grow your email list, how do you introduce yourself in that hook? I mean, how do you capture them? I mean, do you have a big explosion on your pin? I mean, how do you, like introduce them to you and get them wanting more?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think it's going to vary a little bit on how your audience is going to respond. But I think number one, getting them to hook is getting that solution to their problem. Like if they're really struggling with mine is how to clean up Pinterest boards. And what I have found actually, what's interesting is I get a lot of Pinterest power users and a lot of marketers. And so for me, they might sign up for my checklist and they might want this, but I have to, when they get that first email, I have to say, hey, here's what we're all about. We're about marketing. So if you're not interested in that, you can just grab the checklist and go, right? So that's a little bit unique with me, targeting just businesses. But if you're also talking to somebody, let's say it's a collection of bread recipes, or it could be, what to wear for Zoom calls, whatever it is. Right. The first thing is that it should be this thing that they go, oh my gosh, that's the solution I've been looking for. And then you get to introduce yourself as to, Donald Miller talks about the hero and the guide. Right. Then you get to be the guide to that person who's the hero. So I think it's first identifying what their greatest pain point is, and then talking about how you're going to solve that.
See, I think that's a great point because I've seen, and even some Pinterest so-called gurus or ninjas or whatever you want to call them. They, it seems like I see some people like they went to Pinterest trends, saw what was trending, and then tried to shoehorn their content so they can get in that search. And I see the problem with that is what you just mentioned. You're specifically going for, okay, here's marketers and business people who want to clean up their boards. You're not trying to sneak into chicken recipes and, because that traffic would not be qualified. But I see a lot of people thinking, oh, I can kind of game the system and bring them in this kind of a skeevy kind of, I guess, keyword stuffing kind of thing.
No skeeve. Yeah. So you were right. That was the wrong link. The correct link is Pinterest Toolkit, I think.
Okay. Let me try to fix that.
TW Pinterest Toolkit. I dropped that in there a couple times. Sorry about that, you guys. So I want to add something to why I think this is an amazing time to talk to Kate. It's always an amazing time to talk to Kate, but about email, because there are some industries right now that are having a really hard time pivoting. And I know in our Survive and Thrive series, we had a whole episode about pivoting, and we're thinking about having another one that's just like a brainstorming session that we can all do together to help people to figure out options for how to pivot their business. So if that sounds good to you, let us know. But there are some businesses like travel right now, and hospitality, that there really is no way to pivot in order to make money. Now you can pivot to build your business and build your email list, but maybe that's what you have to do right now. And hopefully that you have savings or loans or grants that can hold you over until that time. But right now is that time to build up your audience through your email list, so that when travel or whatever else you're having trouble with is possible again, you have this really great new list of people who want to hear from you.
Yeah, I fully agree with that, in the sense too that I'm actually on an email list of a travel, they send out daily emails to tell you what deals are the best on airlines. And I was curious how they were going to navigate this. And what they did is they shifted away to say, okay, we can't share with you flight stuff right now, but we can shoot out for July and August. But we're also going to tell you how to navigate refund policies and which flights and which airlines you're safe to book on, so that you can cancel or get whatever later. And I thought that's a great pivot, because there's still people who want to dream. There's still people who are going, I am holding out hope that I'm going to be able to go on vacation in August. So they're serving that dreamer population. And also, to your point, if we've been building just on Pinterest, we just want to drive traffic from Pinterest and we're not capturing them on their email list. If you were in the travel space and you were getting a bunch of traffic from Pinterest, that's now gone. So your opportunity to collect them as an email subscriber is no longer exists. So it's in the high times, you want to be smart about gathering, and so that you can really put your boots on the ground and serve them in the low time when you're not getting that. And I've heard so many people say to me over and over, I'm not going to invest in building an email list. It's just not worth it to me. Instagram is so easy for me, or just to get a click from Pinterest is easy. But then when your traffic goes away, you have nothing left. But if you have your email list, you own it and you get to talk to them. You have a captive audience.
I think that is
So
super
true.
important because one of the things is like we've even heard recently that their accounts will be shut down for some odd reason. And so I don't ever hear of anybody having their email shut down, you know, or getting
Right,
kicked off
unless
a
you're a
platform.
horrible spammer, you're not
Yes,
going to
unless
get
you're a spammer or something like
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like you're not
Yeah.
building your platform on rented land. And so I think that's really important. We did have some questions about the URL, so I want to bring that up again, especially for our podcast listeners. So ignore everything that I said before. It is bit.ly /TW Pinterest Toolkit. That's bit.ly /TW Pinterest Toolkit, all lowercase, all smashed together. So
Yeah.
we never really
You know what?
covered, Elisa,
What?
why should we even, why Pinterest is a great place to build an email list. It's not the first place a lot of people think about.
No, it's not. But I mean, I think even before we think about that, you know, a search that you and I have been doing on Pinterest every time we talk on these Facebook Lives is on trends.pinterest.com for travel to see, okay, what is going on? What are people thinking? And this is the first time in a while that the trend for the search for travel is going a little like back up.
Really?
A little bit towards the average range almost. So things like travel outfit, travel destinations are still down, although they're starting to get a little bit of a jump up, which is interesting. People are feeling optimistic. So if you are in travel, like maybe people aren't booking today, but they are searching and they are looking, like the searches for travel photography, that just keeps going up, up, up. So maybe you're not talking about great deals in the Mediterranean right now. You're talking about how to take great travel photos. And that way you're bringing them into your list. So when they're actually ready to start planning that trip, you're ready. You can capture them because we know what, like, that's how you sell is email. But okay, so I think that's a great question for Kate. So why Pinterest for email?
Well, number one is because it's a really, I think, a powerful traffic driver. It moves people off the platform, very similar to Google, right? Whereas Instagram, they keep everybody in their ecosystem. And so it's hard to get them to take action off of it. Whereas Pinterest, they know they have to go to your site to get what they want. And so you have a captive audience literally coming to your front door, knocking and saying, hey, can I come in? Whereas the other ones, maybe they're just playing in the yard, right? To use that example. So I think that's why I like Pinterest and I like Google and any other platform that brings people to me to then offer them something that's going to be super helpful. So then we can continue the relationship. They can come over again and knock on my door. You know, like I think that's the way you have to think about it. And that's why I think Pinterest is the greatest platform to do that with.
Okay.
So we do have a great beginner question from
driver.
Yeah. So let's go to DC Tara's question. I want to bring that up because I think that's a great place to start. Is how do we build an email list on Pinterest?
That's such a great question. And what I love about that question is that so many people are afraid to answer that because they feel like, well, this is kind of a stupid question. But those are the best questions to ask, right? So I would say number one, when I was thinking about this, it's to find the provider, right? Like who are you going to use to actually send your emails? There's lots of options, ConvertKit, Mad Mimi. And then I think number two, great advice I actually heard at Social Media Marketing World the first year I attended from Joe Polizzi. I think that's how you say his last name. He said, when you're going to build an email list or something, you want to pick a consistent day and time you're going to show up for your people and start talking about what you know. And so for me, it's Wednesday at 5 a.m. I decided that the very first time I opened up, I used Mad Mimi. I opened it up and said, I'm going to send this. And it was like to my other Gmail address. I'm pretty sure like my mom and a friend. So there was literally like 4 people.
Right.
But I started training myself.
Yeah, you're very consistent.
It was hard, but that's the thing is consistency because I think people want, I think also there's an element is that you have something really important to say to another person and just start visualizing those people in your living room. What would you say to them? And then begin to start to find your voice and figure out how you would talk to them and continue to do that. And then people will respond. So the basics is find an email provider and then pick your day and time. And a lot of them are free in the beginning too. So like up to like 100 subscribers, you can get it for free or whatever their threshold is. So that gives you a lot of room to play around during that time. And I also think, why do you want to build an email list is important to tell yourself, because there's going to be moments where you feel like nobody's opening, nobody's reading. Right. People have just unsubscribed, because the very first unsubscriber you get, you're going to be mortified. But you just have to tell yourself they weren't my people, or maybe they really were your mom. And then you just go from there. You know, you keep powering through. So that's very basic.
I can never target my mom again. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure she never even looked at the email, or my dad emailed me and he was like, who is this? Is this somebody pretending it's you? It must be spam. You know, he's skeptical of everything that comes into his inbox.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
So how often in your email, after you started to grow a following, let's say you got the first 100 people, when do you start asking them questions? Because I think a lot of people think that an email list is just to constantly sell them stuff. I'm going to just keep pumping out stuff to sell them. Hey, I got a sale today. Hey, I got this new art. So when do you start really interacting with your email list? Like, I found it's kind of cool to ask them questions like, what do they want to know about or learn, or when should, I've even seen some really great examples when people are doing a redesign or a rebrand, they'll even ask their list and go, what, do you like this logo better or this one? And what are some other examples that you have of like, communicating really, really well with your list?
Yeah, I would say also what I learned in that class that Joe put on was that he said you're going to have to invest for at least 18 months into your people before you start asking them for a sale, because they need to trust you. And so I would say part of building that trust is just asking questions along the way, like, how can I serve you? So I would say right off the bat, come up with how you're going to give a lot of information, but then say, hey, is this helping you? What are you seeing? So that you can get feedback from them. And then later down the line, be strategic about what you want to sell them. It would not make sense for me to talk to my list about like Dave Ramsey or something like that.
Right.
He's in a totally different niche. And they would be like, what? And it would people would see through it super fast. So actually, one of the first affiliates I think I had was Tailwind. And it was because I found it so helpful that then I did start talking about it, and it didn't feel salesy because it was such an amazing tool that helped me and my team. So that will start to come through, and people want that too. They want you to share what really works for you instead of asking for the sale. People get fatigued by that all the time. I get emails like that and I unsubscribe so fast because it doesn't feel like they care about me. It just feels like they're going for the sale. So I also want to distinguish this a little bit, because there's lots of different ways you can do your email list. So I went the newsletter route, which was consistent. Every week, Wednesday at 5 a.m. Eastern, I would show up with this Pinterest tips, our podcast, and then any helpful links. That was the same formula I used, and I still use it. Some other people might find that they only want to do it once a month, or they only want to do it when they, feel like emailing. I would not go the route of like when you feel like emailing. I would make it consistent, but just know that you don't have to do it newsletter style. You don't have to do it once a week. Just begin to think about how you can be super helpful to your people so that they're going to want to open. And to your point, Jeff, they're going to want to answer the question and respond back to you.
Those are great points.
So if a year and a half to see results from it, is it worth it?
Yes, 1,000% yes. And I think it's just getting yourself. We are in a world where we hear a lot of big numbers, right? Like Facebook ads or even Pinterest ads. It's like, grow your email list X number overnight, make this much money. You have to remember that it's still a stepping stone. Like the plumber didn't go out and get like 100 clients right away. He worked on one house and he did a good job, and they told somebody else and they told somebody else. And that's what will happen with your email list if people find it valuable. They're going to share it with other people because you've been so helpful. And so that's traditional business building. It does not happen overnight. So push that out of your head and then say, once you do build your email list, it will then become a place of profit, or a place that's a traffic driver and also a point of connection with your people. So It's hard though. I'm not gonna lie. Like the first time that I think it was 2015, we did our flagship planner and we put that out, and I was like, cross my fingers, is anybody gonna sign up? And I think that first year we got like 500 signups, and I thought, oh, it's amazing, which grew my list to like 700 or something. And it has not been overnight. You know, it's taken me 6 years to get to, we're right about like 24,000. And we're right at that threshold of ConvertKit where they're going to charge us more at 25,000.
Right.
So we're scrubbing our list of people who don't open, because there's people who don't open and I don't really want them on my list. So we just send them an email and says, hey, are you still getting value from me? If not, it's okay to bail, like unsubscribe. So
Yeah,
That's a great point.
yeah. So have you seen the statistic? And I've seen it floating around for years now. It's that you typically get $44 return on investment for every dollar that you spend on email. Have you seen that one?
Oh, I have not seen that
I haven't
one.
seen that one.
Oh,
I think you just made
yeah.
it up, actually.
No, I didn't make it up. I can actually share a
Okay.
link to it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, share that because I want to
Because
see that.
that's the reason. Like, okay, so let's say you start now. Let's say that you're in a business that's really hard hit by COVID. Let's say you're a wedding planner or you're a travel blogger, or like you own a hotel or something. So if it takes you a year and a half, but at the end of that year and a half, you start earning that $44 for every dollar that you've spent in time and resources getting that email out. It's all going to be worthwhile.
Oh yeah, if it's $44. I mean, also there's I would say a little bit too, like to the people who are having such a tough time, I want to speak to that in the way that like when we are in difficult times, that's when our creativity can sometimes come out. And if you don't have that creativity, if you're like, Kate, that's bogus, ask some friends to help you be creative and help speak into what the idea should be. Because I think that everybody has a way to kind of pivot their business when it's in a downtrend. So it's sometimes just rallying to figure out what that is, because you're people who care about your product. If I go to a really high-end hotel at the coast, I am really eagerly awaiting for that to open. So they have an opportunity during this time to tell me about what they're looking forward to or what specials they might have. And I can't wait to support them again. People want to support small businesses. And if you continue to talk about what you're looking forward to, I think that will pay off in the end.
So I wanted to bring up something you kind of, when you're talking, got me to thinking about community. So email list is about community if you're doing it right, because you mentioned about listening and finding out what they're doing. And I think I talked about him last week, but like we talked about before the show, Lou Mangello, who's he's built this amazing community. He's a great guy. But his whole business is Walt Disney World Radio, which is closed. And it's going to be closed for a long time. But I've been on some of his lives. I get his emails and stuff. And his community has rallied behind him. So email list as a part of community, because your community is loyal and will stay with you even during these downturns. Like ads, you can throw money at ads and all that stuff. But your community is always there. And that's what helps you get through these times that are like we're in right now, I think.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Yeah.
So I'm seeing some people in the comments are anxious for some tactics. So we talked about like why it's important, why Pinterest is good, but they're like, give me the tactics. I'm
going to pull up some comments that I've already got saved. So we'll do that. Okay. So here we go. Here's one from Erin. She says this. She says, I am somewhat a new blogger and in between lifestyle and travel. If I'm trying to gain the travel area now and post travel pics from the past, how much info do you feel that they need to have? I wouldn't necessarily have to blog post about that destination to lead to, to lead them to. So sorry for the long question. Okay. So between lifestyle and travel, that's where she's at. And she's trying to gain people on her list from the travel area now and post travel pics from the past. How much of that stuff do you think they need to have right now?
So she's looking for a way to get people from her travel pics to her email list.
I think that's what she's asking.
Yeah, I think so too, but please clarify if we got it wrong. So there has to be an in-between. So you can't just have a picture of a gorgeous cliff that leads to join my email list landing page. So there is going to have to be something of value in between. Like, what would you say, Kate? Would you say you've got to have a blog post?
Yeah, or a really long form like sales page type of thing. I see a lot of people linking from a pin to like a pop-up, like a box, and it's like you're asking them way too soon. It's not going to work. But if you have a long form like page that describes, okay, let's say it's like the Cliffs of Ireland, right? You might give them a guide like, okay, you want to understand their pain point, which is you can't travel right now, but let's dream and plan for that vacation. So then when the travel restrictions are lifted, boom, you're ready to go. I'm going to give you a full guide to get you prepped so that you're not wasting any time when the travel bans are lifted. You can just, get on your airline and you can go and you're ready. Then somebody's like, oh, good, you're helping me dream. Because that's a big part for people right now who love to travel is they're missing that element of planning. So if that's what you're going to offer, I think you can definitely do it. But you can't go straight to asking for their email list. That's like the person who knocks at the door to sell you like Cutco knives right away. Like, hey, you need some knives? Well, you don't even know if my problem is that I have dull knives. So you got to ask me that first.
Right.
Yeah, you hit on it exactly. There has to be something in return, and it's unlikely that they'd sign up for a photo of the week or something because they can get that right on Pinterest. So it's got to be something of more value. So do you have something like that? Maybe you already have something.
Yeah. Are you talking to them or are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to them. I couldn't remember.
That's what I thought. No, it's okay.
So we have a couple more questions that I want to bring up here. This is from Tiffany. She says, what other type of questions or info should we share or ask of our subscribers? I struggle with this. So what are some questions that we can ask of our subscribers to get, I guess, maybe even more drilled down into what they really, really need?
I would say one of the easiest ones is a very simple, short, one-sentence email. Like, what is your greatest struggle right now? And just have it be that. And you can have the subject line just be, I just have a quick thing for you. And then you'll start to begin to hear responses. Or what are you struggling with in X right now with like managing XYZ? Think about what your questions are and then pose them to them and just see what happens. And that might jog more questions.
That's a great.
You can also ask them questions to help you build up a roundup post, like 10 ways to get more email signups from Pinterest. Like, what is your favorite way to get email signups from Pinterest? You could ask them and make them a part of your process too.
Yeah, user-generated content is always popular. So here's a great question from Brittany. She says this. She goes, do you mean 18 months of an email list connection or 18 plus months of a connection in general? I've had a Facebook page and business for 10 years. If they join my list that I started in December, have I already built that relationship to sell sooner than later or still wait until next June?
Okay, that's a great clarifying question. So what he was referring to is when you're just starting out. So if you're just starting out and nobody knows who you are, you can't like start by writing to your 10 people on your list. And then when you get to number 11, you could be like, buy my stuff, right? So if you've been investing in your business for 10 years, I think there's still an opportunity for you to ask for the sale, but be very smart about what sale you are asking them for, especially during this time when your audience might be all service-based. They might be hairdressers or restaurant. Like they literally are the hardest hit right now. So if you ask them for a sale right now, I kind of think I just don't know if that's going to be well received. But you could have people on the other side who are still doing really well. And teachers are still getting paid. Teachers and other people are still getting paid. So asking for a sale that's going to help them with whatever could be beneficial. But the whole root of what he was saying was that don't start out of the gate of your business pushing for the sale. So if you've had 10 years of investment, then there's an element of, yeah, you could start your email list. You're in a great position too, because your email list will probably fill up pretty fast with a lot of the engagements you've created. So you might have to use social more than ever to build it and then make your email list your point of connection where they go to get like the insider information. And that will continue to build that connection you've worked so hard for these last 10 years.
That's a great point.
And I don't think he was saying that you had to wait 18 months from the start of your email list to sell anything, just that it might take 18 months for it to start to pay off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And I think to his point was saying he saw so many people start a business and go straight into buy my stuff, like the ShamWow guy, like, here we go, right?
Right.
And he's like,
Yeah.
no, don't do that.
Right.
And he used like a guy who did like backyard chicken farming and
Mhm.
how everybody started to come to him about
Oh,
backyard
yeah.
chicken farming because he just started to talk about it. And as he started
Mhm.
to talk about it, people wanted to do it. He also used the PBS example. Like PBS gives free content 50 weeks out of the year, which buys them that 2 weeks out of the year to do their telethon, to ask
Mhm.
for money. And people
Mhm.
are like, they're more tolerable of it because they've been invested in. So don't get caught so much on the 18 months rule, but get caught more in like, where's your investment at before you ask for the sale?
So what do you think about this, Kate? So I know that when I've done promotions in the past, like, you know, I'm always like, I'm telling about the lives, I'm talking about blog posts, all this stuff. And then when I have something to sell, I'll do like a post about, hey, this is an opportunity for you, yada, yada, yada. I do one email, but then after that, my emails will be my like normal content, like, you know, what if there's a live show or whatever. But then at the bottom, I'll say, hey, by the way, this is going on right now. But it's like a footnote. But I still make a lot of sales and get a lot of clicks just from that. But it's not pushy, but it's there. So what do you think about those type of options, like if you're running a promotion?
I love it. It's called the PS option.
Mm-hmm.
I love that because especially if let's say you have a really value driven email and you're just talking to them about something you're investing. And then your PS is this like, hey, if you want more help with this, there is this option here. Here's the details, the sign up. More people are likely to click on that because they're like, oh, this is all so much value. You betcha. Like, I'm going to go for this. I see that as a great tactic as well. And I think there's a distinguisher too on your email list when you're pushing a very time sensitive sale and then a long term, you know, this is always a good product. Like Tailwind is something I can always talk about and it's always something I can throw in there. And there might be times where I am trying to think if you guys do special. I haven't heard the special promotion. Maybe I'm not a part of that list, but like I always just think it's like a constant background thing that if somebody does buy from that link, I'm an affiliate, I get a small commission. So that can be something that's peppered in throughout all these other places. But if it's timely, I do find that the PS strategy is super helpful to just remind them, hey, there's this tool here that's super helpful.
And it's not in their face.
Yeah, and I think but it's also important to remind them because I mean that launch email was a really big deal to you, but it might not have been to the person who saw it once, thought, oh, that's awesome, but then completely forgot about it. Like it's nothing personal. It's just that they have other things going on, so you need to keep telling them. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, that thing you're thinking about, it's over here.
Yeah. And by the way, great segue, don't forget to get our free templates at bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit. That's bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit, all lowercase, all smashed together. We have a great comment from Rena. I started my email list a year before I launched my first product because of that advice, and it's worked well for me. So here's another question from Sherry. I'm going to go, if you're not going to jump in, I'm just going to ask some more questions because we got a ton of them, so you're just going to have to wait in line. Sherry asks, when you do ask a question to your email list, like what is your biggest struggle with, do you just have people email you back or do you provide a survey? That's a great question.
Email back every time almost. I probably do surveys once a year to my big list just to kind of make sure I take a temperature check. Am I jiving with you all and where you're going? Or if I'm about ready to launch something new, I want to know what they need because sometimes what I think they need is very different. But yeah, I always just say reply back to this email because that also helps Gmail give you a better email score too. I don't know if that's what it's called, an email score, but it shows that you're like legit, you're not a spammer. So having people reply back to your email is good for your email score. I'm sure there's a better name for it and a more proper name. I just don't know what it is right now.
It sounded good.
But
We're going to call it
that. It helps your deliverability. Yeah, we're gonna. It's the thing.
Thank you.
So I feel like this is telling us that everyone would really like to have an entire episode about how to use your email list, but we promised new ideas for how to get people from Pinterest onto your email list. So let's talk about the question I see a lot, which is, okay, do I send people to a blog post with a form on it somewhere, or do I send them directly to a landing page? What do you guys think?
I find we get higher conversions. We go to a blog post that has a place for them to sign up. So here's a few tactical things that we do for people to implement that's something new. So let's say that the How to Clean Up Pinterest Boards has been my number one traffic driver from Pinterest for 3 years now. It just will not pop out of number one. So as a result of that, we have a checklist that they can sign up for. So that box is on there as well. But we also have this amazing planner that we want them to know about. So they are on that blog post. And midway down in that blog post is what we call a mid-roll ad that talks about like, hey, if you want this planner, it's right here. Click on it and then you can go to it. And that sends them to a landing page. Now we can drive traffic directly to that landing page for the planner. But what we have found is that we want to diversify our spaces where they can sign up. And if Pinterest users really tend to convert with a blog post, we go there first and then kind of also use the landing pages as a supplement. So they're kind of getting two options for every blog post has two potential opt-in options, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I have a question about planning. So let's say you have an offer, you have a great lead magnet, because that's what we're getting to get the people to sign up for our list, because it's all about getting people on our list. So you have that great lead magnet. Do you sit down and go, okay, I have this lead magnet. Let me create X amount of pieces of content that we can put that for each one of those landing pages. So would you suggest, I mean, is that kind of how you think when you're starting to plan, trying to build up your email list? Because that's what I would think I would do is like, okay, great lead magnet. I'm going to create 5 different places that will all fit where I can drive people.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll say that I started out a little bit of the reverse because I didn't know what people were interested in. So I created one big one with the planner. And then from there, what I did is I looked at, okay, where is my traffic? Where's the Pinterest traffic coming to? And it was the cleanup boards. It's a visual search post I have. It's a couple other places. So then I went, oh, they might want a tool to help them take action on those things. And actually, I went a little crazy with opt-ins, actually almost like too crazy. And then I evaluated which ones were actually being opted into. And I nixed all the ones that were under like a 2% or something. It was pretty low compared to the other ones. And I looked at my range too to see what was my high, what was my low. And then I started to realize that most people who visited the site really still liked the main opt-in. So then we took and we put that on all the pages. So I use I believe it's called the Easy Ad Inserter plugin to create an image that just goes on all of my posts that shows them what the opt-in is, our main one. It's like, it looks like an ad, but it is not an ad because I don't have ads on my site. So it's like ads for me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you can go that route too, but I just went opposite of that. And
Gotcha.
To address the point a little bit, Elisa, too, with like the newness, I think the newness of email list has to be what you write on these places to get them to opt in, because I see so many websites where I go and it's like, join my email list. Well, what am I getting? Like so I've started to pay attention to how people are giving away their freebies and what kind of copy they're putting on there. And I think that is a little bit of where the magic's going to happen right now with getting people hooked in to something different, whereas just join my email list.
That's a great point. Yeah. So the question I think that a lot of people have, I've seen in the comments, is like, so I need to start with a blog post. And so you would say, yes, for sure. So I think it's got to be some piece of content. Now, I am not a writer like Kate is or Elisa. I do video because it's easy and I'm lazy. So there's other options. So don't freak out when you see.
You're smart at it.
Yeah,
I don't do video because it's hard. So
but blog posts somewhere where people you have a landing place of your own content. If you're doing a podcast, you can do show notes and do the same kind of thing. So it just has to be a landing spot for your content that you own. I don't think any of us here would say like make a lead magnet or something that would be on Facebook or something. That you're driving from Pinterest to Facebook. You want to always have it on the stuff that's yours, is what I think we need to make really clear.
Okay, so Kate, do you think it was Ad Inserter Pro?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it was I know it was free, so I'll say that
Okay.
because I like to be as cheap as possible sometimes. So I'm pretty sure it
Okay,
was
well, let us
free, and
know.
it
Yeah, because we have a
yeah,
lot of
I
people
will for
asking.
sure.
So here's a great
Yes,
question.
it's good.
I want to bring up this one. This is from, I'm not even going to try. How do you give the value information on the blog post, but still get them to go to the download landing page? For example, I'm a photographer, and if I were to do how to take my family photos at home, isn't that the same info on the blog as in the lead magnet? I hope that makes sense.
Oh,
So
I'll let
you
you go.
can absolutely adapt that. So I could do a blog post about how to create images that convert to email signups. And all the information, yeah, it's in the blog post, but if you create a checklist, it now becomes actionable. It becomes something people can take with them and actually do something with it. So even though they could technically take the blog post with them and check, like, oh, I got that one, oh, I got that one. But a checklist makes it so much easier to use that people are more than happy to give their email for it.
Yes. And for that, I will say too, another thing you could do is add another like layer of value. So how to buy clothes for your family to wear in the photos online right now, because none of us can go to the store. So if you're talking about how to take family photos at home, say I have a checklist, but there's a bonus guide information for how to pick out the best clothes. And I need you to create this for me because I'm the worst at picking out clothes for my family to all like look great and coordinate. Everybody comes out and they're all wearing something janky and different. And I'm like, this is not going to work. So that being said, there's other pain points that are within the how to take family photos at home. You could do something for kids, like what age kids do you have? How do you get them to look at the camera? I think that's your starting point. And then you say like, hey, do you want to go deeper with me? Here's where I'm going to give you more information. And they're like, heck yeah, because you just gave me all these amazing tips. I want more.
So
Great idea.
this is a great question. And I know, Kate, you have some thoughts on this. I think it's, and Julie Tuck says, side note, is there any tactics for doing templates for podcasters that are effective? I struggle with this. So I know you have a lot of content that's from your podcast. So I'd love to know how you can help him out.
Yeah, well, I would say number one, I'm terrible at creating images. So my first step was to hire somebody else to do it for me, full disclosure. But number two is we wanted to be very clear on the image that they were going to a podcast. So our podcast is converted into a full blog post because we had people who started to write to me and say, I don't listen to podcasts, but I do read. Will you please put it into a blog post? And so that being said, the people from Pinterest on those Pinterest images, I wanted them to know Simple Pin Podcast was in the branding. And then I did have some pictures taken of myself with me in front of a microphone and headphones on to start to give this idea of that they could potentially be listening to a podcast. But there is some other times because we have the blog post so fully written, it looks like an article. So it's like some Pinterest images, they're like, oh, I'm going to read an article. Oh, bonus, I get a podcast. So there's a little bit of, I would say, start out first by just using the templates that like Tailwind provides, putting your own branding and spin on it, and then putting somewhere, listen now. So there is that connection that they know what they're getting on the other side.
Yeah. And I would say I've done this. I started out where I would just, and if you're trying to figure out like what content, like how to take a podcast and put it as a written word. I start out with just doing a transcript where I'd go to like otter.ai is a great place that does it, which is it's a lot cheaper than like rev.com, which is about $1 a minute. Otter AI has really great plans. You're going to have to edit it because it's doing it with AI. That's a great way to do it. But then I went and Kim Garst does this as well. She actually pays a writer, and I have a writer as well that actually will take and make it a blog post, not just a transcript, but like Kate was saying, a blog post, and flesh it out a little bit more. And so people can kind of, like Kate was saying, get both. But it's okay to start, like if you're low on funds and you're low on stuff like that, is doing it with a transcript, because that's better than nothing. And that's indexable by Google, which, circling all the way back to what Kate was saying at the beginning, is she wants things that will drive traffic to her, not take it away. So that's a great way, if you have a podcast, to switch that stuff over and get some traffic that way.
Yeah, I feel like one of the I guess, misses I see sometimes by when podcasters share their content on Pinterest, which I'm always happy to see it because there's not a lot of it. But sometimes it's just like one image, and the only thing that changes on it might be the podcast episode number
Right.
and maybe a title. And maybe like a picture of the guest, but that's the last thing anybody really cares about. They don't care about us. They care about what they're going to learn from the podcast. So if you can at least get that on there, I think you'll be ahead of the game.
And we tried an interesting test where we did put the guest and we put a quote from the guest and we had it play like a video. We didn't get hardly any traction on those at all. Like
Audiograms don't do it.
Just flopped.
Yeah. They're called Audiograms, and they don't really do well on Pinterest. I keep testing them every once in a while just to see. And I found a better way to do is do a video pin with it, like a subtitle underneath it, and have movement and actually have video, or even like if I had Kate on a show and she had a lot of times you'll have it ask a question and have an answer, and that's like a really short amount of time. I think it works better if you do that and have subtitles underneath it. Than just doing those audiograms, at least what I found. But they still don't do that great a job. I would rather have a blog post where you would have a normal looking pin with the title and an overlay, and that would take them to the page where then they can listen to the blog post, like what you do, Kate.
Okay. All right. So we have two kind of big-ish questions to get through, and we don't have a lot of time. So, all right, pop-ups. Yes, no, maybe, and I want to hear from our audience too. As a marketer, how do you feel about them? You can tell us as a user too, but
well,
I'm a big fan of them.
They work is why we do them. But here's the thing, and we've harped on this before, is that it's got to be optimized for mobile because all your traffic is coming over from mobile, and nothing hacks me off more is when I click on something on Pinterest and I get a pop-up that's not blocked that's not optimized for mobile, and I can't X out of it, and I'm just gone. I'm like, I'm not staying there at all. I mean, so those are my thoughts.
So my thought on this is I do love pop-ups too. Same to Jeff's point. Just look at your phone on mobile. Like look at it and see how it works. If you are equally as frustrated with your site, get somebody to fix it for you.
Yeah. And don't have it pop up in the first second and a half that I'm on your site, because I don't know you well enough for you to make that kind of push that quickly. I would say don't wait too long, especially, when you're getting traffic from Pinterest. Don't wait too long, but give them a minute to at least read the first couple of paragraphs. That's my feeling.
Have you experimented with pop-ups that only come up when you leave, when they click off the page or getting ready to click on?
Exit intent.
Those, I like those a lot. I've gone back and forth. Like, hey, before you leave, I've got this kind of a thing.
Yeah, we have tested it a little bit, but I will say, like, for some reason, ours is currently broken. So if you go to my site and you get a pop-up right away, I'm sorry, like tech issues, right? I feel like this entire month, the internet hates simplepinmedia.com. So just give me a free pass during this time. So
absolutely. I do like the exit intent ones better as a user, even.
Right.
Just they just feel a little bit more, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm always thinking of as a marketer. Yes, pop-ups work, but think of the way how you feel about them. Because if you get a pop-up every time you go over to another page on their site, that's annoying. So I only set it for like the first landing, and then it's done. If they click off, I don't want it to pop up again. And like, it's not like a swatting fly you're trying to get rid of. You want to, hey, this is just something, by the way, hey, I got this other thing that you can look at. So they work, but always anything you do, like Kate says, check out and make sure it works on mobile, because that's where your Pinterest traffic's coming from. Yeah.
And avoid the passive aggressiveness.
Right.
Would you like traffic tips? No, thanks. I hate traffic. That's that just makes me irritated.
Yes.
So Denise says, I hate pop-ups that appear too soon, especially if I don't know the blogger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So our last little section is, so we've talked about how to get people to sign up kind of once they get to your site. And if you have more ideas on that, throw them in. But let's talk about the images themselves. Like, what makes an image that converts better for email signups? So Pinterest did this webinar, which I refer to all the time, and I'm going to throw the link in there. My favorite one they've ever done. And it talked about how to do that, like by objective. And this one is getting signups for your website. So let's take some turns here. I'll go with the first one. Increase your email subscriber conversion rate by 25% if you can show someone wearing or using your product or your service. 25%.
That's amazing.
Huh.
That's pretty cool. I know. So basically lifestyle photos, they convert better for all kinds of objectives, but 25% for email is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, you have one, Jeff?
Oh, I'm just going to read what you put in front of me because is that what you want me to do?
Go
okay,
for
so
it.
but we've talked about this in the show before. That text
Yeah.
overlays that conveys product or service details. They have up to a 61 higher conversion rate. So once again, we're going to tell you guys, make sure you have clear text overlays, and also because Pinterest can read your text. So no more squirrely little squiggly fonts. I know they're popular on Instagram, but please, for the love of that's all that's good and holy, stop doing it on Pinterest.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
And I just have to say, I know we're towards the end, but can you guys see me okay? Or is there something funky with my internet?
You're a little funky, but it's good.
Okay.
You're funky. Funky.
Okay. Well, I won't stitch and screw anything up, but I realized I was on the wrong. So sorry about that.
Oh,
You're
no
good.
problem. We can hear you. We can hear you just
you're
fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So you you have this list. Nope. I'm going to let you lead this one.
Okay. So putting your brand name in the first sentence of the description can lead to 54% higher conversion rate for email signups.
See, that's really interesting to me.
That is interesting to me too.
Brand name. So
And I haven't
I've been
tested
working
that,
on
to
that
be
with
honest.
Kaylin. I suspect that, and I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that a lot of their studies were done on consumer product brands.
Yeah.
Consumer
Like
product
Clorox
good
and stuff
brands.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that probably has a higher impact on those kind of brands where you know the brand already. However, adding your brand name to the first sentence of your pin description will increase your brand awareness, which is something we all want anyway. So I figure even if it doesn't increase my sign up, it's increasing my brand awareness. So I'm going to do it.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think of that idea?
I'm going to test it because I haven't. I really haven't. I've always kind of not done it because I'm like,
I know.
it seemed like
People don't search
it
for
seems
that.
spammy.
Yeah, people don't search for that. Like they're not searching for your brand name typically. But I feel like Pinterest is you get such distribution and people see your content so much that I feel like it can't help. It can't hurt. And you do want that awareness. You don't have to pay for it all over Facebook. So
Yeah. So Kate, I wanted because I see you do this on yours a lot, and I think you do it very, very well. But one of the things is clear, actionable wording and strong calls to action and description, like sign up, get yours, discover. They say that gives us a 70% higher conversion rate. Have you seen that?
I will say that right now we're getting really active with our UTM tracking. So I don't have like a huge connection as far as like data, but I will say that when people do come to the site, we do see them take action. So we have found that to be helpful. I also, in fact, we were talking about this as a team. Getting better at the descriptions is write it like you would a text. Like if I'm sending Elisa a text about something that's so awesome, at the very end, I'm going to say, you need to make this because I'm so passionate about it that I want her to take action on it. So I think there's that idea at the end, like what could be some creative things that you would tell a friend about whatever you're putting out there.
Mm-hmm. I want to take these next two, Elisa, because we're running short of time. But one we've talked about before in the show is the tasteful logo placement in the top or bottom center, which we've talked about, especially when we've had our friends on to do the design redos. But this last one, striking visual. Okay, what does that mean? I mean, do you have a bomb blowing up on the pin? I mean, we hear this, make a striking visual. So what does that mean for people? Because that is so ambiguous. I don't know. I mean, I can make a striking visual, but I could get also arrested. I mean, come on, tell me what I'm supposed to do for a striking visual.
No. So it's about what's gonna catch attention in the feed. So if I'm looking through here, does your pin look like everybody else's, or is it different? So look through the feed, see what catches your attention, because most of it just like is noise, right?
Right.
Yeah. But then there are a few, like, here's one that, oh, no, it's promoted, so wants to go right to their site. Oh, stop it. But I'm scrolling through my site, and I don't think this is gonna work.
Yeah, I see.
Which one catches your eye?
Right. And we've had one guest on talk. The cat in the background catches my eye. But what the thing that I think is we have to also be thinking seasonally on striking images, because you'll notice, like in the fall, it'll be all those fall colors, and those also start to blend together. And then it seems to be like the people who make the switch and keep it still in the fall theme, but maybe quit doing what everybody else is doing, they start getting pinned more. And so I think you just can't say striking images. You have to think about striking images during that season. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and also relevancy. So when you get the Pinterest templates at bit.ly TW Pinterest Toolkit, what you're going to notice is the images are a little different. So I had the hardest time finding some of the images for these concepts because I couldn't use pictures of a group of friends or people at the beach in a crowd. Like, you have to make it relevant for now, or it feels too foreign and people don't want to click on it. Or even like now, a group of people on a sidewalk feels frightening, right?
Right,
So maybe that's striking, but it's not in a good way. So make it something really relatable and people are going to click.
So last question, and well, just comment. This is from Christian. He goes, what gets my attention most of the time are plain text pins. Have you guys experimented with those at all? I have not.
Oh,
I haven't either.
That's a good, I'm going to have to test that, because
I think it just depends. Because if your person like is searching for something that they want to picture the product, or they want to picture themselves in, like I was searching for a garden pathway to my shed. I needed to see what it looked like. If there was a bunch of text over the top of that,
good point.
then I'm missing the intent. So I think it just depends on if you're in the B2B, the business to business space, and you want somebody to read an article. Yeah, maybe that would be good as opposed to like a stock image.
Yeah, it will say quote pins work really well.
Right.
But it's like whether you have the content to support that or not is a whole other matter.
Well, we have reached the end of our time together. Thank you guys so much for the great questions and the comments. But before we go, I wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to find out where Kate is and where all her stuff is. So Kate, tell us where people can find out more about you.
SimplePinMedia.com, and I'm at SimplePinMedia on all places, and the Simple Pin Fest. So just start hanging out with me.
Awesome. And Lisa, this time I will let you have the last word.
Really? That's so weird. Okay. So I just want to say that we have the relief program from Tailwind, where we have set aside $1 million to help people who need to be using marketing software like Tailwind right now, but just can't afford that extra bill right now. So we have decided to extend the deadline for that to May 8th. So if you have not applied yet and you need a little help, I'm going to drop the link in there now. Please apply and do it soon, because we do expect that all the money will be used up. And also remember that you can share it with 3 friends who might need it as well. So, yeah. So
I am putting that up on the screen. It is at grow.tailwindapp.com COVID-19/relief-program. So if you want to go there after Elisa talked about it, you can go right there. And don't forget Simple Pin Media. Go check Kate out. And
her
Elisa,
podcast too.
Yeah, and there's something coming up. Isn't there something tonight as well? Don't you have a pinning?
The Pinterest get together is on Wednesdays now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can share the link to that too. That's really fun, where we have like depending on who shows up and what their level of experience is, we give like a quick rundown of how to use Pinterest for marketing, how to use Tailwind, and then we just do like free for all FAQ. If you want to come on and share your work, like face on video, or just share your pins and we can all talk about that. It's just a really good time with balloons and beverages.
Okay, great. In that order. All right, everybody, we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on Tuesday when we have another special guest coming up for our Survive and Thrive series. So thanks a bunch. Have a great weekend. Bye.